Today being Wednesday, we are going to be looking at the topic of food security and nutrition. And today our main focus is on the eye. And joining me to just be able to dissect this conversation and get to know more about nutrition, food security, and the eye, I will be joined, or rather I am joined by, on my very far right, Professor Richard Oduor. He is a biotechnologist and the chair, Kenyatta University Biotechnology Consortium. And my immediate right is actually my namesake, Dr. Vivian Ongore. She is an ophthalmologist at the Kenyatta National Hospital, Othaya Annex. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Are you doing all right?
Yes.
Are we celebrating Valentine's or not?
I'm on the fence.
Watermelon.
Love is every day.
Yeah.
Love is every day.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
How about you, Prof?
Excellent. That is the day that we really celebrate as boy children. Of course, it's a little expensive for us.
Mm-hmm.
These are the moments we need to be in jail or somewhere seated and running away.
Mm-hmm.
But we are here and we celebrate Valentine's, and happy Valentine to all the ladies out there, and also to us men. Really, we also are expecting something from you ladies. So please consider us as well. But it's a good day. And as a Catholic, it's an Ash Wednesday.
Yes.
This is very big for us, and that's why it's a mixed reaction today. It's love and God at the same time. So we're really happy.
Perfect combination,
Yeah,
right? Love and God. God is love. All right, now let's get down to business. And I want to begin with you, Doc. Maybe what are some of the common eye conditions that are in the country right now, or that you have encountered in the country related to malnutrition?
Okay, Vivian, good morning. Thank you for this opportunity to present on the eye. I'd like to say that there are various eye conditions that Kenyans encounter, but of note, those that relate to nutrition are the ones that are related to malnutrition. Yeah? So the most common cause of blindness in children is vitamin A deficiency, which closely relates to malnutrition, to protein energy malnutrition. So at-risk groups are usually pregnant women, children, and chronic alcoholics, as well as those with chronic abdominal diseases that prevent sufficient absorption of the same. Other vitamins that are important in the eye that not necessarily cause blindness directly are vitamin B complex and multivitamins like zinc and even vitamin C. These are related to our lifestyle. So at the moment, our lifestyle involves use of computers, a lot of screen time, and dry environments, those who work in dry environments, and those who use air conditioning in the offices. It causes dry eyes. Yes. And this has been shown to be improved by vitamin B supplementation or intake. Another cause of blindness in the elderly, age-related macular degeneration, is also associated with vitamins and improved by increased consumption of the same. So there are supplements that are given for the same, but the main one is usually vitamin A deficiency, because this causes blindness directly. And in our setup, those who are in poverty-stricken areas, like in the north of Kenya and many parts of Kenya, are affected by this. Yes.
When you said children,
yes,
what age are we looking at?
So we are looking at children under 1 year of age.
Okay.
Yes. And as it is right now, there's a program among the KEPI vaccines. There's a vitamin A vaccine, which is given at 9 months of age. And then as pregnant women as well are supplemented during pregnancy. And it's a supplement that with proper nutrition, one would not have vitamin A deficiency, because normally the liver stores vitamin A for 1 year. So one has to have poor nutrition for about a year to experience vitamin A deficiency.
All right.
Yes.
To you, Prof, maybe what challenges are we facing in the country and maybe globally when it comes to food security and nutrition?
Thank you, Vivian. I think globally we have a challenge. And if you look at the statistics, the highest actually, index is now being seen within the Central Africa, and it's around 43%. This is very sad. And because of that, it's important that we start looking at how best do we start looking at mechanisms and approaches that we will lower or increase food security. And it's no longer just about food security. It is now the food quality and quantity. So quantity is what we have been discussing over the years about we need to increase the yield and production, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But now it's getting to a point that we need to now get to the quality. The moment you touch on quality, then it means we are starting to speak to the nutrients themselves. And therefore, if maize is known to be giving you carbohydrates, then beans will give you proteins. Then it's important to make sure that at any given time, we have the beans and maize together. But because of the global challenge and, of course, climate change, it's now becoming very interesting that you might not find that the environment is favoring the production of maize or beans. And that is when now my position would be that we need to start looking at the technologies that can enhance the quality of food. And there are a number of them, and I hope that we will discuss them going forward.
We will get into that.
Yes.
Just how crucial is nutrition in the overall health, overall body health of an individual?
It's extremely critical because people say that if you eat right, then you don't need to take medication later in life. A lot of the nutrients that are required for healthy functions of the organs are found in food. And so if taken sufficiently, then it prevents diseases, yes? We've seen how vitamin C has been known to improve immunity and prevent infections. And then there are other diseases that are directly related to reduced nutrition and reduced vitamins, right? Speaking from, commonly in children, there's malnutrition which affects many children in this country still at this juncture in this century. And this is largely related to lack of enough protein, among the other vitamins, right? And then just general lack of food leads to an increased level of, a decreased level of immunity. So it's crucial that sufficient nutrition is maintained among all populations, The nutrient requirements vary across age groups. Children usually require a lot more nutrients than others, and pregnant women as well, because they're eating for two and they're forming new organs of their infants, right? As well as the elderly. But generally in the population, those in good health usually have good nutritional habits. Yes.
Okay. Now that our focus is on the eye, what would you recommend we eat more, on a daily basis in order to ensure that we maintain our eye health or good eye health?
I would recommend fruits. Fruits are very important. That is yellow fruits, so such as oranges, pawpaws, butternut. And I would also recommend green leafy vegetables because these are good sources of several of the vitamins. And then vitamin C, that is oranges and the like. Then among the proteins, there's animal protein and plant protein. So among animal protein, there's beef, there's chicken, and then various types of fish. They are rich sources of the vitamins and rich sources of antioxidants, which are crucial in preventing disease, and they improve your overall health because these nutrients help in overall immunity. Let's say several organs rely on these multivitamins for their functioning. Mucous membranes are in the entire body, not only in the eye. In the eye, it would help you with dryness and the like, but in the rest of the body, in the liver, in the lungs, this would help the functioning of these organs, which contributes towards the overall health of the person. Yes.
To you, Prof, maybe how can biotechnology, or how can we use biotechnology in order to curb the challenges that you had mentioned earlier, you know, in terms of ensuring that when we talk of food security in this country, we're not just looking at the quantity, we're looking at the quality. So how is biotechnology coming in there to address that challenge?
I think this is very interesting, and thank you for that question, Vivian. I personally feel that when you listen to Dr. Ngore talking and said one of the challenges, the nutritional challenges, is vitamin A, for example. And then she also says you must eat right so that you don't enjoy the drugs later on in your life. That is a cue for us scientists to start thinking about solving those problems. If you look at the quantity bit of it, and this is something that biotechnology has done very well in. Look at, for instance, the BT maize, which is the Bacillus thuringiensis. And most people would think it is biotechnology maize, but it is BT. The whole idea in this regard is to make sure that maize is not actually infested by the stem borer that really crushes the quality and the quantity of maize. This has already now been sorted and sorted out, and that is our belief that if we continue adopting these new technologies, we'll get the best of the qualities. But more importantly, if you look at the range of things that biotechnology, you know, actually has done, for instance, we have golden rice, and golden rice speaks to the lack of vitamin A, which she's talking about. And this is now, you know, rice that has been empowered, and I'm using very basic language here so that we understand it,
Yes,
that
please.
has been empowered to now also, it has been biofortified, so that the pathway, one thing that most people probably don't understand is that anything that we are calling nutrient is generated by a cell. There's a pathway of generating it. So those pathways are controlled by the DNA within those, you know, crops or plants. And therefore, with that knowledge, it is possible to, to guide that process, even in the crop that it doesn't naturally exist. That is where biotechnology comes in. So for instance, golden rice, it's a good technology. It's already out there. It's, you know, solving the problem of vitamin A. And of course, she'll also tell you, if you're talking about, say, vitamin B complex, of course, she talked about also C, for, you know, which is very important in immunity and probably the skin and recovery of wounds. Remember that from basic biology. You will be amazed that these things are products of pathways. And for us, we enjoy them, but plants don't know that they're producing them for us. So how we come in as biotechnologists, one, we ensure that we, through the modern genetic engineering, which is the technology that leads to the formation of, or the development of GMOs, we are able to control those particular nutrients that are dangerous for us. For instance, cyanide. Cyanide, and she will get an opportunity to talk about it, you know, has a lot of effects of, you know, to the eye, and actually also kills. Babies, we've seen a lot of them have been dying left, right, and center because of taking elevated levels. And it is instant. Its effect is very, very instant. Now, at Kenyatta University, we have a cyanogenic cassava, meaning the cassava that has been reduced, you know, that process, the pathway of producing cyanide has been slowed down through a platform or a method that we are calling RNA silencing, meaning you are telling the cassava that, yes, we appreciate you like producing this cyanide because it is your defense mechanism so that people don't eat you a lot more because you want to survive. We understand, but remember, we must also keep living as human beings. So we want to eat you, cassava. Then, but cassava also says, I must defend myself by producing a lot of cyanide so that you don't enjoy. So that is when we come and ask ourselves, do we allow cassava to continue behaving the way it is behaving, producing tubers that has higher level of cyanide, yet we know the process of actually producing that? For instance, if you know the route where some thief probably uses to go and now start causing mayhem in the village, then one way of saying you don't want to kill the thief because that is not in your whatever, you allow that for the government, but you can say we know he lives between this time and this time. We block this area. you know, it means eventually you are not going to get that effect happening on the other side. The same thing in genetic engineering. We say the genome of cassava is designed to produce cyanide for its own defense mechanism. And I keep saying this, and I will say it until people get it, that crops that we eat do not produce these nutrients for us to eat. In fact, they don't know that we are eating them. If they really know that I'm producing maize cob for human beings to enjoy and plants and animals, they will hide them because it's about survival for the fittest. So, and because of the technology now we are able to sequence the genome of cassava and say, we know the pathway is called linamarin pathway. It is within that pathway, there is a step that is critical for conversion of metabolites so that we have cyanide. That is where now we bring technology in and bring something that we are calling RNA silencing, meaning we are telling cassava, we appreciate that your cyanide is good for you, but we are saying it's not good for us human beings. The technology is here and we just want to slow it. And slowing means we might not slow it permanently, because probably it's important. We also don't want them to, to be eaten by other things. So probably when we want to harvest, we can actually design it in such a way that during the harvesting time, we slow that so that it doesn't accumulate. Then after that, it continues, because that is what we are calling stress-inducible promoter, because it is a process of, like this thief, for instance, if we continue with that analogy, he's still useful because he goes to work probably to do certain things. So if you actually make him blind, then you have not helped him to serve as probably a family, head of a family, or as a cousin or whatever. So you have a way of slowing them. So by blocking, you've not killed that, but you have also mitigated the other thing, because there are other things that he's good at. Probably is the best thing around, only that the other one is a bad trait. So in genetic engineering, we can have a system where we actually slow that particular pathway for the reason that we want. Like if you want these herbs that people talk about a lot more, we can slow that process and say, now we want you to produce for us this particular vitamin or this particular nutrient, so that we are able to actually harvest it, but you still continue doing your normal things. That is genetic engineering, genome editing, and this is a very, very good discussion around the GMOs.
Yeah. Now that you've brought about the issue of cyanide, maybe the doc can tell us some of the dangers of cyanide.
Okay. Well, cyanide is a chemical that is found in cassava. Okay, so there are two varieties of cassava usually in this setup. There's sweet cassava and bitter cassava, right? And the bitter cassava has increased levels of cyanide. So what happens is that in the village, people consume cassava directly at source. They just harvest it and eat it. Many times it's children who are playing out in the fields, and then they just start to consume it. They pluck it without having it cooked or processed further, right? And they are unable to discern whether this is the sweet cassava or the bitter cassava. So the increased cyanide levels in this cassava can cause dangerous effects to the body, okay? They affect the body systemically, yes, and because they affect the body systemically, they can cause mortality so fast. Yeah? They cause increased heart rate, they cause sweating, they have effects on the lungs, on the liver, they may cause instant death. So depending on the level, how much cyanide is in the cassava, they may only affect the eye. So in the eye, they cause instant blindness. Which is irreversible, yes. I've seen cases coming to Kenyatta with cyanide poisoning, and it is instant and irreversible. So this biotechnology, if it can, reduce the cyanide levels and mitigate this, because this is an irreversible cause of blindness, then this would be of benefit to the people, because cassava is widely consumed within this setup.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Thank you for that. Now, maybe still on you, what are some advancements that are there in your field, that is in ophthalmology, that are working towards, improving eye health in relation to nutrition?
Okay. So as regards nutrition, because this is widespread, it's multisectoral among all disciplines in medicine. It's not really specific to the eye regarding malnutrition, because even vitamin E affects and is useful in other parts of the body, I would say that what has been done so far is supplementation. Supplementation due to the at-risk groups, whom I mentioned as the pregnant women, premature infants, children under 1. Yeah? So during pregnancy and during those periods, there's supplementation given through the hospital system, and while a child is going through the immunization program. The rest of the at-risk groups are usually sufficiently advised by their healthcare providers. There are also supplements as well that we prescribe to the at-risk groups. I talked about the elderly. The elderly being at risk for a disease called age-related macular degeneration, and the fact that vitamin B complex slows down this process or prevents somebody from getting it. So we usually prescribe this to the elderly people above 60 years of age. We prescribe the medication for them, the multivitamin for them, as well as advising them to eat appropriate amounts of the nutrients that are required. So that's what has been done so far. There are also drops, tear drops, that have some of these nutrients. Yes, because I mentioned also dry eyes, which vitamin B complex has been shown to improve that. Yes.
Doc, or rather Prof, we've talked countless times about the concerns that people have on genetically modified organisms, that's GMOs. How are we addressing these concerns? Because they're still there. So how are you, as you know, in your field, how are you addressing the concerns?
Well, Vivian, there are a number of things we're doing. But even as I answer that question, it's interesting, actually, the question you've asked, Dr. about the advancements in ophthalmology and how that has helped in this. And I think in the subsequent discussions, she probably can enlighten us on what are the new diagnostic tools. Because I remember I'm wearing glasses now. And before, I suspect that the methods were just look here, and look. And again, they approximate. But currently, there is this nice machine that she'll let us know, where, you know, you surrender your chin on it. Then you look, and there's a way they squeeze it, and it comes, and they are printing some things. So it would be nice to get to know how that diagnostic, particularly in the terms of, you know, equipment, how, you know, good that has happened, so that we are, some of us who are already affected, probably this would be vitamin A, you know, are aware of where to go and probably the technology. But to your question, you know, Vivian, I still always get surprised every time people actually demonize or stigmatize biotechnology, and GMO to be more precise. I have never understood where we went wrong as a country. Because the kind of GMO that we are talking about and the concerns that people are having are actually myths. Because somebody will come and tell you that GMOs, actually, seeds don't germinate. And that would mean that the producers of the seeds are impacting on food sovereignty and that dependency, and who, you know, feeds you will probably control you. You know, that kind of talk, and you hear a lot of that. And I keep telling them, please, 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 the moment you talk about the GM seeds don't germinate in the next subsequent season, then you are getting very old data, irrelevant data. Please come to our classes so that we train you on how to ask the hard questions that we also ask ourselves when we want to get innovations. Because somebody who still says that the GMO seeds don't germinate is a very easy response. All the media needs to do, and us scientists, is to come to us and ask us, please, can you give us one of your GM seeds that you have developed at Kenyatta University? Put it here. Please, you also get us the GM that you know that you want to protect. Put it here. We are planting them. In full glare of the media, you will take control of it. There will be CCTV in this particular room. Let it grow and get the seeds. Then let's plant again. Because this is just if it is maize, it's just a 3-month experiment. And this madness around seeds don't germinate is dealt with once and for all. But we are unable to do some of these basic things, and we have allowed the people who are actually, their lifeline is on, opposing, just like for purposes of attracting funding, and therefore very, very happy with that discussion, to continue misleading us. Let me tell you, the thing they keep talking about as, terminator gene, doesn't exist in any GM world over. There is actually a UN moratorium on it, that you cannot use a terminator gene in the development of GMCs to allow for the progression. That is at that level solved. The thing they keep talking about is the nose terminator, which is a sequence within the expression cassette, and now I'm going deeper into things, something I did want to do. It is now becoming within the sequence of when you want to move the genes, there are three things for a gene to happen. There is the thing that controls it that happen now, and there is the gene itself that is supposed to do the thing, and there is something that stops it, telling it it is not good. For instance, if I crack a joke here, how did you know that that's a joke and not abuse? Something is controlling the joke. Then if it's a joke, then you will laugh. But if it is not a joke because I'm abusing you, you don't laugh, you frown. So what is this thing that controls the laughter and the joke?
I'll ask you to just hold that thought. We take a commercial break and then we'll be back in a bit.
My pleasure.
We are glad that you are still with us. This is Good Morning Kenya, and we are talking about food security and nutrition with a focus on the eye. Now, before we went for that short break, you were trying to address some of the concerns that people have, mainly on GMOs.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I was actually explaining that the GMOs that we develop, first of all, the public must understand that they are regulated. Just like in medicine, you cannot go out there having done a lot of research, then you just go ahead and prescribe that to the public. There is a process of making it, and also the process of approving it and regulation of it as well. And even after it has gone into the market, there is the post-release monitoring, which we also do for the GMO products, so that over time we want to know whether there are effects of that. And this has happened even in drug discovery. I'm privileged to have done a postdoc in Pfizer and made drugs for malaria, sleeping sickness, and then cancer-related stuff. And therefore, it's a process that we understand from preclinical to lead optimization to the process of, once you have done the mechanism of action, target validation, at the end of it all, it goes to the clinical trials. Then eventually you get the dosages right and formulation right, get to know whether it's intravenous or it is it's just the topical one or it's intrathecal. All those things are done. Once they are done, it's never complete. Even when it goes to the market, there is the monitoring bit, and several times, and Dr. will tell you, there are a number of drugs that have been recalled off shelves because of the the kind of results that they give over time, and that's normal. Now, in GMO process development, we also you have to get the whole idea first of all approved, because before you go into the lab to make GM crops or anything, you submit a dossier to National Biosafety Authority that was created by the Biosafety Act 2009, and that is what established it. For the last 14 years, the National Biosafety Authority has been here actually controlling the GM. First of all, in the lab. That is why in this country we only have 4 labs that can do GM. Not every lab would do it. And the first one was at Kenyatta University and still is there for the last 18 years. Actually 19 now, from 2005 to now, 19 years. We have been making GM foods here locally. So when people talk about the GMO, they always think that it's the one that is coming from outside the country, and therefore those people probably are not taking care of us and ABCD. No, it is a technology that is here. And once they have controlled the whole process, they control it in the lab, they control it in the field, which we are calling confined field trial. You see, that confined field trial is the same as what they do in clinical research, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, all those phases. Then after that, it's now vetted, and once it has been approved that it is better than the previous one. It's just actually the process of making GMO is just the same as the drug development. Why? Because you cannot actually bring any new drug in the market before there is there must be proof that it is better than the one that is currently in the market, and or it has a different mechanism of action, or it has lowered the number of, consumption, which is just the dosages. If you are taking it 4 times in a day, that's not a particularly a good drug. They would want to lower it to 2 or even 1. Or if it reduces pain is not a lot more intravenous or inflicting pain. All those things are very seriously considered before a particular drug is approved. In the GMO world as well, once you have made the variety, we must ask you the question, how better? You said that it's drought tolerant, right? We go and find out, are there maize that are drought tolerant, for instance, and we compare your results with them. If it compares the same, then we don't need this, because the other one in the market can still be just okay, because the idea is that you don't want to expose something in the market that will just create a different, activity and probably can lead to what we are calling tolerance or resistance. Now, the myths must be dealt with as they come. One, you will hear, they tell you that it causes cancer. Others will tell you it causes impotence. I want to say here that truly, 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 if GMOs are actually causing infertility and impotence, then we will not be able to afford that. Because then we will start marketing and taking GMO. Actually, GMO will be sold in pharmacies because it becomes a drug and with a label. Because the kind of investment that the research has gone through to make sure that the contraceptives are here and the infertility stuff are here, it is so costly that if it is true that it causes impotence, because somebody who has already a lady who is already done with giving birth, and a man who feels that I have my 2, I have my 3, and I'm okay, we only start prescribing GMO. Then they can never give birth or whatever the case. You cannot afford it. It will be sold in the pharmacies. It is not true. Yeah. And then others will tell you something that they are equal to multinational, that it is Monsanto coming in. And I'm asking them, there is nothing called Monsanto right now. Monsanto doesn't exist. It was way bought by Bayer. Bayer is an EU, company. And before, people would say that, you see, EU does not accept GMO. Why do you want GMO to come to Kenya? And I'm asking them, Bayer is an EU company. EU actually imports more than 70 now GM products in their country, in the entire EU. And Spain, which is part of the EU, is actually cultivating GM crops. And then guys will tell you, that they are for animal feed. Then we ask them, then who eats the animal? Once the cow has been fed on GMO, did the DNA die because the cow ate it? No. So it is about, we don't know. We are comparing ourselves with the EU. I lived in the UK for years, and I can tell you there is surplus of food. And therefore, when we are talking about lack, we cannot sit here and look at food security through the lenses of EU. We need to ask ourselves, first of all, they don't even probably eat a lot of this cassava that we so like here. So they don't even eat maize as their staple. So what do? We need to start asking the questions that are affecting us as Africans. We like our njahe, we like our sorghum, we like our cassava. What is the research that is being done on those crops that are good for us? Then we stop this blanket, demonization of biotechnology.
And I would love to hear the doctor's perspective on the concerns mainly related, I'll put related in quotes, related to GMO.
Okay. So for me, I would say at the moment that GMO is already with us. Yeah. Already in medicine, we use GMO. We have type 2 diabetes, type 1 diabetes, which is lack of insulin production by the pancreas, right? And this has been going on for years. We have insulin, human insulin, which has been in use for centuries. To treat diabetes, and people rely on this for their lives. Several people have diabetes in this country, and it is used. This is genetically modified human insulin. Okay, and there are several other advancements in technology and in genetics that are useful in medicine that are in use already, mainly in the West, right? Because diseases come from the genes. As he's alluded to, genetically modifying one of the genes can make the difference between somebody getting a disease or not getting an illness from in utero to in adulthood. And this has been instrumental in the fight against cancer. So they use a lot of genetic modification, and even now in the fight against cancer. Treatment of cancer. And a lot of this technology has been used already in this. And a lot of Kenyans say, oh, in the West they have medicine that we don't. Why is it that they have better health care? Why is it that when we have cancer, people prefer to go to Europe for treatment, people prefer to go to India for treatment? They have advanced medication and they use advanced technology, including genetic modification, so as to improve outcomes in the cancer treatment and in other disease treatments. So I would demystify that. I would say that the cat has already left, the horse has already left the wagon. We're already using genetic modification in medicine.
Yeah.
It's already in use.
It's already
And so we should not be behind in this area and then blindly resist it. This was very important in COVID, during the COVID period, in development of the COVID vaccine. Yeah, a lot of genetic modification was done, and so as to come up with a vaccine that is able to prevent people from getting COVID. Yeah, and this was instrumental in that area. And I would like to say that the vaccine prevented a lot of mortalities. Yeah, yes. Although likewise, Kenyans really resisted the vaccine. We remember this, but yes.
Yeah.
We are creatures of habit, and we are a conservative society, but I think perhaps it's time to get with the times, yes. Because if you have a problem and somebody's offering you a solution, then it would be a good idea to change your mindset. Yeah, they say a wise man changes his mind. Yes.
Yeah. All right, and maybe if I may get back to the technologies that are being used in medicine right now in terms of equipment, mainly on eye health, in the new diagnostic tools being used, you know, for eye health.
Yes, so for eye health, we are doctors, so we first rely on presenting complaints. So you come with complaints, then we do a physical examination.
Yeah.
So in ophthalmology, the eye is a very small organ, and many of the diseases cannot be diagnosed with the naked eye. So we use several machines. We have an ophthalmoscope, we have a slit lamp, which magnifies the organs of the eye and enables us to make a diagnosis of many of your eye conditions. So he mentioned refractive errors. The machine is able to calculate the power of the eye that is required, and we can therefore prescribe glasses. As alludes to the nutrient deficiencies that I've mentioned, the deficiencies can be diagnosed by looking at various structures of the eye using the slit lamp. We usually use slit lamp to examine the eye. If anybody has been to an ophthalmologist or to an eye doctor, the patient is asked to sit on a machine, and we're able to examine the eye and make a diagnosis. So this would be, we would make a diagnosis of this, of the xerophthalmia or vitamin A deficiency, which I spoke about, and even of the cyanide poisoning, the optic atrophy, which causes a blindness. Yes.
Okay.
Among other eye conditions.
Yeah. Okay. Just how important is the collaboration between the medics and biotechnologists in coming together just to address health issues and food security, you know, malnutrition?
I think it is time, and the fact that we are today here seated to discuss an area that is cutting edge, which involves genetic engineering and genome editing, in itself is a step in the right direction. Sitting here with Dr. Ngore, for instance, who is a medical doctor and a medic for that matter, and discussing how else do we actually work together and help in terms of malnutrition would be great. Vivian, my thinking is that we need to, first of all, as a biotechnologist or molecular biologist, I may not know how to do those presentations that Dr. is talking about, and they are already good at that. They are the people with the data to let us know that, hey, good people in the lab, we need quality food. And therefore, we are seeing a lot of deficiencies in vitamin B complex, in vitamin, say, A, beta-carotene, and all that. And therefore, can you people figure out how do we get, you know, better nutritious food? And when we get that data, We come with that data in the lab and ask ourselves, hey, good people, we have maize here that only knows how to make carbohydrates. And carbohydrates we can get from cassava, we can get it from potato and sorghum and millet, and we have more than this. We have been here, the beans here that are not giving us the right, quantity of proteins. What do we do? Then we start thinking about how do we therefore use genome editing and genetic engineering, the conventional method, on how to empower maize to also be producing for us proteins a little bit. And then that would mean that anytime you eat your ugali, you can actually eat it with just salt, and you're just fine. Because the proteins, we don't eat, I keep telling people we don't like eating cows or even eating beans. It doesn't even look good. Have you looked at somebody when they are chewing? Chewing is the most ugly thing that happens in the face of a human being. But you have, it is the most annoying thing. It is energy taking. As you do your jaws like that, remember you are consuming energy. So all we are saying, imagine you have consumed that in, ugali. First of all, you pick it. You have 2 plates. First of all, one to give you carbohydrates. I don't even know why we're not cooking our ugali with beef together mixed, because it has nothing. It will just be helping you to lower the number of plates that you are washing, wasting water and plates and all that. And that on a light note. All we are saying is, through genetic engineering, what's very funny is that the discussions that we have started today, and we have been doing as Kenya University Biotechnology Consortium, and now that you've found it fit that we need to have these discussions, and as Kenya University Biotechnology Consortium, we have a very good working relationship with KMA, Kenya Medical Association, because that is the organization that brings together all the doctors. And the discussion we are having with KMA is that, look, you have the best of the doctors. You run with the doctors. All we are saying is, what are the problems that you have that we can address from our side as well? And what are the problems that we have that you can also address from your end? Because if we have, for instance, now maize that is now biofortified, BT maize and others that we have added, given the power to produce more of the nutrients that we require, vitamin A, vitamin C and all that. Because why would orange be left to be the one that can make vitamin C? And maize, both of them are plants, the sun is the same, and then they have the same nucleotide in terms down there, the sequence is what varies. What is this thing? And remember, we don't want the roots of the orange. We don't want the leaves of the orange. All we want is just a small pathway that is responsible for production of the vitamins. That is what we call, in our field, we can do something we call metabolomics, which is where you take a whole pathway and move it to maize. And once you've taken it to maize, it will be producing for you the yellowness that she's talking about, those yellow stuff that would give you the right nutrients. And then maize comes out nicely. It has your vitamin A, it has your proteins in it. You eat an ugali that you only need water. You are just enjoying food. But let me tell the people, so that people can stop this skepticism. Science, you can never stop it. We can pretend in this country that, oh, GMO causes whatever. And the GMO, the first GMO was commercialized 30 years ago. 1994 to today, people have been eating GMOs. 30 years. And we are still waiting to see these Americans, the Chinese, and the people in Australia and South America, and in Africa we have 8 countries right now approaching almost 10 that are doing. We would want to see people collapsing because they have eaten GMOs. And the GMO, what is GMO? Anytime you are eating chapati and maize, you are eating and nyama, you are eating the DNA inside there. You are not removing them. And because you're not removing them, you are eating them together with the DNA. So how come that when we take the same DNA that you naturally eat in beans and we put it in now maize, because now beans cannot grow because of climate change, disease and all that, we are helping you to get the same thing that you get naturally, but now it has started causing cancer. It will be Monsanto, it will be multinational, and then they keep asking who is paying for our grants. And I want to call the public, come to Kenyatta University. This narrative around the GMO is not new. These are the kind of discussions that the developed world keep funding our some small NGOs in the countries, so that you slow the interest on a technology that has taken off. The whole idea here is, honestly, and let's know where this discussion comes in. Why would some of these the anti-GMO lobby groups in this country that have their headquarters in the West leave their people eating GMO? But they love us so much that they come here and they tell us, you don't eat, but the other guys have been eating for 30 years. Can't you just ask yourself and get to know that this is a narrative that don't get engaged into this technology, just continue behaving the way you are behaving, so that we have somewhere to sell for you the product. There's nothing, it has never been a problem with safety about GMO. I can tell you, we have the capacity, we have the regulatory agencies, we have the labs, we have the government right now, and I must thank the government on this one, that the government is keen in on ensuring that we have food security. And over again, we have been discussing these GMOs, and the government this time round is actually very keen. We are in court right now because there are some lobby groups that have already gone in there. We are in court, and I can tell you, the Kenya University Biotechnology Consortium that I chair actually is very interested in that court case. But of course, we don't want to discuss matters court cases because that is not in our area. All I'm saying is that we are hoping that the outcome will favor us.
Okay. I will allow you, Doc, to give us your parting shots on matters nutrition and eye health, or just surrounding the topic that we've been having.
Okay. So to reiterate what Prof has said, genetic modification is already upon us, and it's already being used in medicine. He's mentioned nutritional supplements. This is already in our programs. Okay, we give protein supplements to children, to malnourished children at risk groups, and those who are malnourished. Those who have severe disease and are unable to feed themselves in ICU already have total parental nutrition. So what he's talking about is already upon us. We have various problems as a country that are specific to us. Hunger is still an issue despite being an agrarian country. So I would urge people to embrace it. If there's a way for it to assist us to alleviate our problems of national importance, then I would ask people to embrace it. As an ophthalmologist, I would urge people to have eye checkups yearly.
Yearly.
Yes, because people come when they're blind. Yes, I would just urge them to come for an eye checkup. This can be the difference between you going blind and you being you seeing into your old age. It's important for you to be able to see your grandchildren. Many of these diseases affect the elderly.
All right, thank you so much. Professor Oduor and Dr. Vivian, thank you so much for joining us on this discussion, and thank you for shedding light on it. We appreciate, and I want to wish you again a good day and happy Valentine's. This is where we call it a wrap right here on Good Morning Kenya. Thank you so much for tuning in. Right up next is the Senate proceedings. Goodbye.